Hey, what's up, guys? This is Kenny O from Mahalo.com. Now that we've learned the basics, we've learned the breakdowns, we've learned to see the simple shapes that make up the character, let's go ahead and draw the characters. But we're going to take a step up. We're going to draw characters interacting with each other because that's a little bit of a trick. And actually, it's a really good exercise because if you want to take this, your drawing skills to a professional level, that's something you'll definitely have to learn. It's not as simple as it looks. There's a lot of factors when we draw characters interacting. Sometimes if, there's the scale, sometimes they're, further back. So that can change a lot of things. Like sometimes Plankton can look bigger than Sandy if, Plankton's closer to the camera. But we're going to draw Plankton and Sandy interacting. So we're going to just do it. We're going to do this one. It's going to be a intermediate. It's not going to be, there's not too much depth or anything like that, but it's going to be a really fun exercise. But we're going to draw them all the way fully rendered. So you guys ready? Well, let's go ahead and get started. Well, first thing I like to do whenever I draw Sandy, I always start out with her most noticeable feature, and that's her cheeks. Sandy cheeks. She's got big chipmunk cheeks. So from there, I go ahead and then I put in her head, and it's a bit of a square. And you know what? We drew Sandy already in her bodysuit. So in this exercise, well, we're going to draw her, without it. So we're going to draw her in her tree dome, and and when she's out there, in her bathing suit. So we have this line right here. We have her cheeks. Her head is a bit of a square, just a little bit rounded. I put the center line. That's where she's facing, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and do the rest of the pose. And in this pose, she's going to be kind of like, whoa, because she's almost going to step on Plankton. So we have that line of action. She's kind of like, whoa. And then, so let's go ahead and put in just stick figures for the feet. And foot's going to be coming up here. And when we kind of do two characters interacting, we do not want to fully render each character, like render Sandy, and then go ahead and render Plankton, because then let's say I have to make an adjustment. One character's too big or too small, or I have to move the character back in space, and then you have this full render drawing, and if you commit too soon, it's going to be much harder to fix. So we just want to start off really basic. Now they're going to be pretty much on the same playing field right here. So I'm going to draw this line right here, and I want Plankton to touch that line. So, and his line of action is going to be like, oh my goodness, like in that one episode of SpongeBob. It's just a regular, oh my goodness. All right, so we have Plankton's line of action. Let's go ahead and put in his eye, one of his most notable features. And then we're going to go ahead and just remember he's a pickle. So let's go ahead and just kind of draw that in, following the line of action. And we can always adjust, guys. Our construction lines are always meant to be pretty thin, and we can adjust it if we don't like it. So that's why we have, that's why they're called construction lines. Sometimes you got to go back and change things up a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and draw his eyebrow. Then, so I have this down. So now that I have Plankton where he's at, I'm going to go ahead and start putting in Sandy's eyes. So, those are just circles, guys. So now we have her eyes. And now one thing I want to do is establish their connection. So I'm going to have her look down at Plankton. And I want their eyes kind of to connect because they're like, they're looking at each other. So I'm going to kind of draw a line right here. Invisible line, well, not an invisible line, but a construction line. So now Plankton is kind of like they're acknowledging each other, because that's another important thing. So then, now that I have that, I can go ahead and draw Plankton screaming because he's about to get crushed. So we're going to go ahead and draw his mouth. And I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys so it's easier, so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I did the bean shape. It's coming doing an arcing line right here. And we're going to go ahead and do another line kind of following that. And we're going to do a line coming down. And we're going to do some teeth following as well. That line. And then boom, boom, boom. And then we're going to do, let's follow that. Let's put a little line right here. And let's add in those teeth. And you can see I got Plankton down pretty good. And so we got the body, and what's easy is, oh, he's got really easy limbs to draw, and they're just little arcs. And then I'm going to make this one his hands a little bit longer, because you know, in the cartoon, you know, even, you know, his arms can get long or short. They're really short, but like in times, you know, he can really, his arms can get longer. So I'm going to go ahead and draw his antenna, and they're just kind of two lines that run parallel, but then they kind of get closer towards the end. And we'll do the same thing over here, and we're going to draw through this one. Okay, and then yes, lines, because I'm happy with the overall present, like, you know, so far with what I have here, so I can kind of start rendering in Plankton. So there we go. So we have Plankton. He's like, oh my goodness, Sandy's right there. I'm going to erase that line of, you know, of interaction, because now they're really looking at each other. He's like, ah, and yeah. So we'll go ahead and let's start putting in her ears, and they're just like these little kind of almost circles. And then you can already start to tell that's really Sandy. Let's go ahead and put in her nose, and it's basically a triangle, guys. I mean, you know, that's why we practice drawing really simple shapes and mastering them, because then we can break down the characters to simple shapes. And once we really do that, it's just a few simple steps in order to transform that into a fully rendered drawing. The importance of stick figures is so you can come up with cool poses and interactions between characters. A lot of times what happened to me, I didn't practice a lot of stick figures. I just practiced drawing fully rendered things, you know, figures, and that's why I had a problem coming up with positions and ways to draw the characters. So that's why I just talked to somebody earlier today. It's like, oh, I only draw stick figures. You know, I'm like, that's perfect. Master drawing stick figures. If you become really good at drawing stick figures and drawing poses and stuff like that, that's great. That's a really good step, because we want to take drawing in steps, guys. It's like guitars. We're not going to go in there and start doing Elvis Presley songs. We're going to start learning the chords, then doing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, then doing Stairway to Heaven, and moving up. Drawing is a progression, just like any other talent or skill that there is. Another thing, another exercise is a flip book. I'm probably going to cover that maybe in an animation course, but stick figures, you know, animating stick figures is a great exercise, and I used to do it a lot in high school. You know, me and my buddies, check it out, fatality, all that kind of things. So I'm glad we joined me for that rant. We're just stretching out a little bit. Sometimes we got to stretch out. So let's get back to drawing. All right. So we're going to come by, and we're going to start. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and put in her body mass, and her body without the spacesuit is a bit of a kind of a kidney bean shape. So let's go ahead and put that in, and now we're starting to give Sandy some mass, which is really good. And so from there, I have her legs, and I'm going to give her legs some mass as well. So we're going to do that line. See how it easy, and these stick figures are guidelines, so then they have all the action. And then we're going to go ahead and just start cleaning up. You know, see the guidelines right there? They're easy, really easy to take away. That's why they're light. So any artist you see who are sketching, they will sketch with a, you know, really light line, and they can go by and, you know, just clean it up afterwards. And yeah, so I'm just coming around, and this line is going to follow in a very, like, it's going to be connected pretty much. So, and then we're going to come around, follow me with these lines, guys. We're going to come down and see how I mapped out the foot. It's perfect right there. So I'm just going to go ahead, maybe just make a little adjustment. Like I said, our construction lines are guides. They are our roadmap to drawing. And, you know, some people are like, I don't need them. Well, okay, you know, that might be the case, but you go to college and you're going to be like, yeah, so where's it at? It might be okay for later on in advanced classes when you reach a more artistic style, but if you're learning and you're in class, they're going to be like, yeah. You know, it's like doing math and not showing your work, especially in college, and especially if you want to get to an art school. You know, your teacher's not going to let you turn in your homework if you do not show how you got, how you did your work. And this is the same thing with art. Art is it's a serious skill. So now what I'm doing right now here is mapping out Sandy's dress. So I can draw through the figure because the dress is three-dimensional. So even if we can't see it, it's best to draw it because then it's gonna look more three-dimensional. It's not gonna look messed up. And see, if I draw through the figure, we have erasers, guys. We can erase, and and I can still have her, that line. She has that certain, that light patch on her stomach. It's still there, and it's still perfect. Definitely read read as many art books as you can. But How to Draw the Marvel Way, that's the first place that taught me how to do that. And I'm like, why? And I believe that you can never get enough help in research and drawing. So with that said, we're looking really good, guys. By the time this video, you should be right around here. If you're not, take time, pause, take a look, and everything like that. There's a pause button, and move at your own pace. Some people may be faster, some people may be slower. And if you studied your lines, you will be fast. So with that said, let's go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and do her shoulder. And we're going to bring this line down, and then come over here with this, almost follow the same path, come down, and then I have her hand mapped out. So we're good right there. And, well, Sandy, yes, I'm going to draw her bathing suit. So I'm just going to draw 2 round circles, and this one is kind of be hidden behind the other. Then just a line, and I'm going to bring that out just a little bit right there. And then look at construction lines go away. So do not be afraid to draw through the figure. It's going to make your figure look a lot better. So I'm going to come by, and then right here I'm going to draw her expression. I draw like a little, she's like, whoa, and I'm going to come down. And let's not forget her little eyebrows, or eyelashes. So we have our scene just about done, and then we're going to come here and start rendering out her hand. And you're going to see why that was really important to put in a circle. So we'll come in. I'm going to draw a fist, and then we're going to draw her because she's outside and she was raking her yard. Somehow Plankton got in her tree dome in this scenario. So just draw through, make sure those lines connect. We're going to draw a square. Then we're going to just go ahead and draw some little arcing lines right there, and that's her rake. And well, we have our hand down right there. You saw the importance of that circle. It was our roadmap, and we followed it very well, and we got the hand down very well. And then we're going to come here. Now this is going to be a little bit of a tricky one, so I'm going to go ahead and just lightly outline where I want her hands to be. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and draw her thumb. And we're just going to come around, and there's no really secret on how to draw hands well immediately. It's practicing, and later on I'm going to have another app, and it's going to teach you how to create, do character creation. And what we're going to do is practice everything. We're going to practice drawing different kinds of eyes, different kinds of hands, different kinds of shapes, and that's going to help you get better. So let's go back. So we have this, and I'm pretty happy with that, so I can move on to the next finger, and it's going to come out like this. And if you ever wondered why cartoons have like only 4 fingers, and because it's hard to draw. That's why. That's why cartoons only have a certain amount of digits, because there's no real easy way around it. Because Animating a human body is fairly simple. I mean, it's tough, but it's not nearly as hard as animating fingers that have, look at this, I mean, there's how many joints there is in just this finger alone, plus this, plus, I mean, it's, and for shortening, it's extremely difficult. And I had the luxury of having to animate a hand for a commercial once, and it was not the bee's knees, but I was really proud of myself that I challenged myself and I did it. So we're just about done. All we have to do is kind of render this and we're good to go. Now I have the outline of the skirt and you're going to see why I did that. And I'm just going to follow that. I messed up a little bit, excuse me right there. So I'm going to come around, I'm going to arc, and then come down, and then follow it again. And see, that's my guideline. I want the skirt to kind of touch. Sometimes it can go out because her dress kind of, you know, goes in and out, but that is my guideline for her skirt. I'm going to come around, and I just found a secret. I just leveled up in my drawing skill. So there we go. Now we can just erase those guidelines, and we can go ahead and draw. Well, not draw, but, you know, render her out. And look, it's funny. See how I did the leg right here? Well, we're drawing her bloomers. So, I mean, that already, just by mapping that out, I already got that, and it has the good, you know, value in that. So that's why we draw through the figure. I mean, in situations like that, it helped, because remember, I drew that line right here to map out her leg, and that line now turned into where her bloomers are. And now all I have to do is just, you know, come in there with a more, you know, just a tougher line. And then we have our sandy cheeks. So that's all we have to do now. Now it's just rendering, and we can go in and erase. But you know, it's good to leave our construction lines, because it's really good to see how things are drawn and to see our personal path when we draw. So I always like it, and if you have it in a sketchbook, it kind of looks more impressive. Sometimes it's great to have a fully rendered drawing, but then when you have like kind of one that shows, you know, your process, oh wow, that looks cool, you know, you can see how it was done, and it shows that you're a little bit more professional, that you just didn't kind of just outline the drawing, you know, because sometimes, that's why sometimes it's hard to draw a figure, because we don't see how it's done. We just see the fully finished, you know, project. But if you see something that's kind of sketched out, you see, oh wow, that's how they went about it. They just did that. So, you know, have a few, and especially if you're going to want to take your art career to the next level and go to a school like Cal Arts or you know, some prestigious art schools, because they're going to want to see that big time. They're going to want to see you sketch and go to the zoo. So let's go ahead and add her lines right here for the feet. So, you know, maybe I'll do a video from the zoo. I'm like, all right, guys, this is Kenny. So let's go ahead and, you know, practice. And, all right, so we're just about done. We'll just go ahead and fully, you know, committing to those lines that we drew. And, you know, we can come in here and erase, you know. And one thing I recommend is a kneaded eraser. Kneaded, like I need, you know, and that's just like a putty eraser. And it's really cool because it's a lot of fun, because it's kind of like clay. And when I used to have them, we used to make figures. But what you can do is knead it to a very thin point, and then if you have small drawings, you can go in there and clean out your, clean out your drawings. So it's kind of like what I'm doing here in Art Rage. So I have this eraser, I can make it to like a 9%, and that's like if I had my kneaded eraser and made it really thin, and I can go in there and clean out those lines. And I was going to give one last bit of advice. So there we go. So let's go back to our pencil. Get on this eye right here. We're committing to it. I can turn my thing. I might turn my Wacom pencil around. Now, a lot of the questions, I'll get them answered in this video. I'm using a program called Art Rage. It's for Windows and Mac. You know, I have to answer the questions because that's the number one. Then I'm using a Cintiq by Wacom. It's great. You don't have to use that. You can use a piece of paper. But, you know, later on, if you definitely want to make this a full-time career, I highly recommend getting one of these. I mean, not from the start. From the start, you gotta take steps. So I would recommend getting a bamboo. And it's gonna be a small learning curve from drawing here and looking on the screen, but it's definitely worth it. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got. So we have Sandy right there. We can even just come over here, draw a little horizon line, and I'm going to draw through the figure. So if I tried to draw around it, it would be very difficult. And you know, just put in a little sand dune right here, a little rock, you know, and just shaded it in a little bit. Nothing too major, you know, making a little scene right there. And then just draw little funny corals, but there we go, we have our scene. I'll draw like a leaf right here. Yeah, but there we have it, guys. We have our Plankton with Sandy. And that's something you definitely want to try to do, is just do character interactions, because like I said, it can be difficult. But yeah, here's my advice. A lot of times when I drew, I didn't want to challenge myself because I didn't want to have bad drawings. I wanted to play it safe and have good drawings. But you will never, ever in art advance if you just keep it safe. You have to draw, and you have to draw some bad drawings in your time, because if you don't challenge yourself to the next level, you will not grow. Like, I'm like, oh, I just kept it safe for a lot of times when I was drawing. But you know, sometimes draw something that's a little bit too hard, or draw something that's in a crazy pose and try to finish it, because that's going to help you move on. Because that's, you know, if you keep it safe, you're just going to be in that zone. But if you challenge yourself and do something difficult, you know, do something, you know, like maybe drawing Street Fighter and drawing, you know, Ryu doing, you know, crazy poses, it may not look good, but if you keep going, you're going to get better. I can guarantee it. But you got to keep at it. Don't get yourself in the safe zone in drawing, because you will get there. You're going to get to a place where you're pretty good, and you're going to stay there if you don't challenge yourself to get to the next level. It's extremely important to do this in drawing. It's like lifting weights. You can get comfortable doing 100 pounds and like, yeah, I'm strong. But if you want to get to the next level, you know, do 150, and it's going to be tough. But that's how you're going to move on in drawing. So that's my tip of the day in this video. Don't play it safe. You know, once you get there, challenge yourself again, and you'll move on, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching this and, you know, purchasing this. And it's just great. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to do this with you guys. And I hope I help. And stay tuned for the next drawing. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much. Thanks for watching.